Bright suns and rising moons, fellow droids. Welcome to another episode of Not the Droids podcast. I'm Mayuri,
I'm Danny.
and today we're going to be talking about The Acolyte, episode 2, titled Revenge Justice. When did that air, Danny?
This one also aired June 4th, so Disney is very much known for releasing the first two episodes of a series. So these actually released back to back. And after we watched, I'm like, oh, maybe we should have watched them back to back.
Yeah, I kind of like
I feel like
watching
we
them
didn't have to,
separately.
but I'm like, we could have because the first episode was so much introductions to the characters. So we at the end
Yeah,
we almost felt like, oh, we don't really
we didn't
have
have
this.
a
We
lot
didn't
to
have a
go
lot to
by.
say. We did talk about afterwards, not on the episode, so I want to bring it up because you just gave us our title name. The
The
yes,
slash,
the slash and it
like the
happens, it doesn't happen the whole season, but it happens throughout the season and even episodes that echo each other. So later on there's a day and a night episode. So this
yeah, I think it's really interesting because like now that we definitely know like May and Osha are twins, right? Like we didn't know that going into the first episode.
yes.
It's an interesting like duality concept where there's two of them, right? They're both currently on like opposite sides of the force, and you see like revenge and justice are two sides of the same coin, like depending on what perspective you have on an action. And the same thing with the first episode that was lost and found, right? Like
So like
depending on which way you're looking at it, it could be one or the other.
yes. So
So I like that, especially with the twin aspect. So it's like I'm wondering if like at some point that will change and if that is reflective of like shifting in allegiances or like mindset of the twins.
yeah.
So that'll be fun to watch. Like I like how they're doing that.
We start out on Olega at the local
Yes.
Jedi temple.
Which for, we got a droid at the temple. I don't know if we've ever gotten that kind of droid before.
Yeah, it's like a security droid, but it's I had him down. I know he's not a doorbell, but he's essentially a doorbell
He's
droid.
essentially a doorbell. I loved that where they were trying to activate him by just like throwing something at him. I was like, man, that is.
He's like a motion sensor.
But I mean, she got past him pretty easily,
She just paid off a
which,
kid.
yeah, I mean, she put something on him. I assume that's just like a lock override or a system override
I
to
thought it was
unlock the
like
door.
like a droid scrambler because in like my
Oh,
head I
maybe.
feel like, and I know their droids are computers, but droids also have a lot of personality, so I feel like it's AI in a
Yeah, it's
way.
a little bit
Like
of both.
yeah.
Yeah. I kind of enjoyed the scene where she was trying. So, like, I don't really understand the like meditating Jedi that he's like impenetrable, but I thought it was hilarious like how much she was trying to get into his like force shield and even to like see if like oh maybe if I go up and maybe if I do this, and it was just like she had to give up.
Okay, so we later learn in this episode that this Jedi, who is named Torben, so we do learn his name, has taken the Barash vow. So according to Wikipedia, the Barash vow, or Barash for short, was an oath taken by Jedi who completely refrained from all activities related to the Jedi Order as a form of penitence. Penitent?
Pendant, I know that word.
I know what the word means.
Penance.
Yes, that.
Penance.
I'm adding extra letters.
So I guess that makes more sense with how this episode went. I like that they keep switching back and forth now from each of their perspectives.
Yes.
And so when you have Osha's perspective, like Yord is still very suspicious of her, but like the Padawan is like, I mean, Master Saul says she's cool, so she's cool. Like,
Yeah. So there's and she also helps her with figuring out what to do with the ship.
yeah.
Back before we move on to that, the attacking of the box that's not a box. In my head, I'm like, he's surrounded by a
It's
box.
like a mime box.
The cloak action.
Oh, yes. I
The
mean, just
cloak work was amazing.
like like it's just insane to be like, how do you make that look so cool without getting stuck? And
And
I feel like,
having your person that you're fighting not moving. Like you're essentially
yeah,
fighting
like how
nothing.
did they do that so
Yeah.
that when she was fighting, she was up against a box? Like
Yeah.
I can't, I'll probably look into it because like I find that so interesting.
Yes.
Um, I also, because like the Jedi find out so very quickly things, I
Hmm.
feel like. And so like I like that they called Master Saul. He's like, I don't think it was Ocean. They're like, we agree. We agree.
We
Something
agree. But
happened.
the only reason we agree is because there was another attack and it was
There
the
was another
that was just
incident,
like OSHA.
and you're saying she was under your custody. So turns
Yeah.
out we believe this weird twin theory.
And now you should take her with you.
Yeah, like maybe she could be of help. Um, the Jedi on this planet though remind me of like, like small town cops where
Hmm.
they're like not as like polished
Yes.
or
Well,
refined.
it also like to the reference of like in the beginning when they say the planet name, it says local Jedi temple.
Yeah.
And that's how it has the feel of like the local establishment. It's not like the Jedi Temple on like Naboo or Coruscant or like one of those big planets where you're like, no, it's a big blustering city. It's just like this little local Jedi temple.
Yeah. But like even like the Jedi when they're interacting with them, they're just kind of like, "Oh, hey, like
Yeah.
and like later in the episode we see like the two local Jedi keeping watch and they like get distracted and they're like, "He's gone. Let's go." And it's
Yeah.
very much it's very much like giving bumbling sheriff, but
A little.
I kind of like it. I kind of like it because I feel like that's realistic, right? Like not every Jedi is polished, neat,
No.
so capable. Um, but the scene where we get Manny Sintos, so Quymir, is that how you say
I missed it, so sure.
it?
Because
I
like
thought
they say his name and then they don't say it the rest of
they
the
only
episode.
say it one
They say
time,
it
and
once because I was like, oh, I'll get it later on. No, you won't.
no, it's they say it the one time. I said it's Quymir. I like that he was just like drunk and passed out. So like I thought that I'm confused now because I thought that he was the guy in the mask, but maybe he's not. Because he's just like so cash and drunk. And like
He
just
just took
like
over this apothecary. He's like,
I think like I feel like he could just be like another trainee or whatever that's like with her because it
mhm.
seems like he's keeping an eye on her for someone to be like, you have to pass this trial.
Well, he also knows information. He knew she had a twin.
Yeah, so like he knows enough about her. She goes to him. She clearly trusts him because like up until now you don't really get anything from her except these same exact I don't even think we talked about like the same exact statements to the Jedi, like
Yeah.
attack me. And then
Yeah.
she does like the same like fighting stance. And so that's where I'm just kind of like this is the most personality we've gotten from her is her interactions with him.
Yes.
Um and I'm kind of here for it because he's hilarious in
And
this scene.
yeah, and he provides her poison from her home planet. We later
Well,
find
so
out.
she brought the leaves,
Yeah,
though.
she brought it. He mixed it.
Yeah.
So she's been back to her home planet. That says.
Yeah. So she knows enough about what's going on, but I like how they talk about how he's doing this to find peace, but
Mhm.
really he just needs like absolution because I feel like penance, absolution, like
Mhm.
those are all like different interpretations of the same process.
But based on this and based on Soul, they have something to hide about
Yes.
when Osha and May were 8 years old.
Well, because it's like Saul said that they saw May die, but and then OSHA says that May's responsible for killing the family.
Mhm.
Um, but we find out that
Go on.
OSHA thinks May is dead also.
Hmm.
Or sorry, May thinks OSHA is dead.
And we see that when they both finally see each other, like Osha has now believed that she has seen her, but May has not seen Osha. So now it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well, because like she says it in the episode, like
yeah.
Osha is dead, and you're
Yeah.
like, oh, she does not know that her
Well, and
sister is
then
alive.
so we then find out because Osha pretends to be May to go speak to our friend Manny that she has
Chimere, Chimere,
Chimere has 4 Jedi on her list. So Indara,
who's dead,
who's dead, Torben,
not poisoned.
Sol, and Anaka.
Who's a Chewbacca Jedi?
Oh, Wookiee.
A Wookiee. Chewbacca is name. Wookiee
Chewbacca.
Jedi. Which I thought was funny because I was like, oh, does he wear robes or is he just like the rest of the Wookiee? But like so they're clearly hiding something that they know. So like when Torben releases himself from that vow and he drinks the poison, he says, we thought we were doing the right thing. So like, do you think Saul thinks the same way? Or like
Sorry,
that's the
repeat
group
the
that made the
question.
decision? I was gonna say he thinks we thought we were doing the right thing. So do you
Mhm.
think like all the Jedi made that decision, or maybe it was just some of them? And so like that's where because like Saul, they know something about what happened 8 years ago, and like I'm just like, what decision did they make? Because Saul says he tried to save her, but like, did he try to save her? And she has this whole thing about Jedi clearly leave someone behind. But then is she just getting revenge for what she thinks is her sister's death? I'm just very confused as to
There's
what
a lot
happened.
of questions that are going to need to be answered throughout this series. And we're already a quarter way through.
I know this is there's only 8 episodes. Like what are we doing?
Mhm.
I do again, there is
And I
a
want to correct. It's Kanaka. There's a K.
Kanaka.
I was Googling it to verify,
Yeah.
but it is Kanaka.
But yeah, so when they're trying for what Chimere gives her up, by the way, which was
Mhm.
very odd. I was like, why did he give her up? Did he expect to get caught? Like, I don't know. And when he does get caught, he acts like just like a dumb apothecary guy. So like, because they don't know any better, right? Like he just like the Jedi on the planet just says that's not the normal guy,
Yeah,
but they
I
don't know that he's taken over.
feel like he has a long game here because he also is the one that says, I can get us off this planet. So he has resources.
Yeah, yeah, he's very resourceful. So, but like when they set the trap for me and Saul gets into the fight with her, I'm like, that is also another thing of beauty. But like while he's doing that, he's reading her
Yes.
and like testing her to see like what she is capable of
What she's
and what
capable
she knows.
and to try to figure out who has trained her. 'Cause she's obviously trained. We don't know if
Yeah.
she's trained, like what that training looks like, who has trained her, but she is trained.
So yeah, so that's why I was like, that fight scene was cool. But she goes for his lightsaber again. And she did that with the first one. And so I'm just like, what? But then she left Indara's lightsaber. I don't understand.
But the lightsaber is like a symbol of the Jedi, and she's attacking Jedi. And now I'm like, is she questioning this? Because now she found out that the Jedi did not kill Osha. I'm assuming she thinks that Osha is dead because of the
Yeah, well,
Jedi, and that's her revenge path.
that's why I thought, like, I think she's getting revenge for what she thinks is her sister's death
Yeah.
in the fire, maybe. Maybe she survived the fire and she thinks her sister didn't, just like the flip. And
Hmm.
so it's just kind of like what is her end game? Like what is she trying? Because she's also meant to kill them without weapons to
Yeah.
prove herself to someone.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just like it's a very nice mix of a lot of things. So like there's a lot of like questions, there's a lot of, you know,
There's a lot of characters.
dialogue, there's a lot of characters, but I don't think it's overwhelming. I think they're doing a really
No,
good job of
no.
managing that.
They're doing well with introducing them without it being like, How many more can you come out?
I know.
Like,
How many more people can come out of the woodwork, guys?
and we're finding who our like main characters are going to be, like Soul, um, his two young Padawans. Um, they're not both his, but like that's because what's his face is not a Padawan anymore.
Yeah, he's not a Padawan anymore. I literally said his name 5 minutes ago, but
I
I
know.
forgot it
I
already.
literally just like blanked on it. Yord.
Yord.
Like Yord's not a Padawan, but Jackie?
Yeah, I think so.
Something with a J.
She is. But
Did
that's
did
where,
you pay attention to her this time?
yeah, she's very familiar. She is exactly who I thought she was. So who you said she was. But I like her character. You know, I like that she has a personality.
Yes. And she also feels like a Padawan that is learning. Like how
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, what are, but you tell she's learning, she's figuring it out, she's learning who to trust and to go on her instinct also with like Osha, whereas Yord is very like
He's very like
Yord
by the
follows Osha when she peels off because he just does not trust her, which is so like what is their background if he doesn't trust her at all, but he knew her?
Yeah, that's why I'm just like, he knew her and they were friendly, but like, he can believe she did these things. And listen, if I was also suspicious of someone and they peeled off from the rest of the group, I would follow them
I
too and
would
be like, what
too.
are they
I
doing?
would too.
So, like, I don't
Like,
think that was like an unreasonable thing. And honestly, it worked out in Ocean's favor. I like where she's like, it's not what it looks like, guys.
yeah,
I know I'm standing over a dead body
with
holding
poison in my hand.
an empty vial of poison, but I swear
Hmm.
it's not what it looks like.
It's not
Um,
'cause technically May did not poison him. He took it on his own.
he took it on his own, which they figured it out. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm just like, I'm honestly just curious about where this show is going.
Hmm.
There's a lot of detail, a lot of attention has been paid to choreographing
So
scenes.
I will say that this series may have the best choreography and fight scenes of all of Star Wars.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and like you're seeing it, right? Like they're all kind of different, but you can see like they're all very capable. And I feel like I don't know if it's just because like they're trying to show that like at this time, Jedi are in peak, right? Like
Mhm.
they have all the training. They are super experienced. Like they are so much more capable than most other people they go against.
Yes.
Um, and Kymir talks about how Jedi are, like ruling the not like ruling, but they're just like bullying the galaxy because they're the most powerful at this time, right?
Yes. Or at least
And
from his perspective, that is what
from his
happened.
perspective, and that's what's happening. And you kind of see it because it's like they're incorporated everywhere, but just like I don't know how often on a day-to-day basis are they challenged against someone who doesn't believe that they're more powerful.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's why it's just like, but then we think about like the bumbly sheriff type Jedi at the end,
Hmm.
where Kymir is getting May off the planet, and they're just like, oh no, he's gone now. And I'm like, okay, so not all Jedi are equal. It's
Yeah.
there's a reason why you're on a local Jedi temple and not like the
But that's
main
gonna
one.
happen. Like in any like and it's not necessarily bumbling, it's just like you deal with the local business. You don't really deal with the
Like,
intergalactic part.
yeah, so it's like it's not as difficult and
Did you catch that May called Osha Oshi?
yeah.
So is that one like a pet name in there?
Yeah, I mean they were 8 when they
Yes.
had that.
No, but it was
It's
just like it was like a cute little.
I thought it was cute, but like she doesn't know if what she's seeing. Do you think, and I know you've seen this series before, so did I don't think I think May sorry, Osha missed on purpose.
Oh yeah.
100 both times.
Easily.
And
Easily.
I think Master Saul knows that. He saw it.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so it's just kind of like, oh, girl. And then I don't understand. So the Jedi just seem like a consensus group, which is maddening
Yes.
because it's like it's very hard to get stuff done in a timely order when you recall everybody to talk
Hmm.
about it and make a decision before doing something.
Yeah.
And I think to him, he's just like, we know exactly where she's going. Like she told us we found out she's hunting for
We know her
Jedi.
list. Like we know where to go next.
Two of them are dead. I'm here. So like, why not there? Like, why don't we go there and pick him up
Yeah.
or
Why
try
don't
and
we
set a
get
trap for her?
or try to save the last person that she's going after?
So that's where, I mean, they can alert him, right? But like, that's where it's
You say
also
like
going
he
to
can they
be,
can alert him. So let's jump to Kofar, which is the planet that
yeah.
Tanaka is on. We get there and there's two people exploring that come up to this rather shabby, abandoned looking. I'm like, is he living off the map and is just, you know what I mean? Like
So
he
I
had,
wonder if he is because I would have assumed that he was living in the trees.
yeah,
Because that's how like Wookiees are. Right? Like when you see there's all these tall trees, so I
yeah.
assumed there were
And
like all
Kashyyyk,
of
that's what
the
we're like used to.
yeah. But I don't know because like if Soul said we know where she's going next, so they know he's on that planet.
But he might not like have connection, like power connection, like
Yeah.
because he
So
feels
like
very much like off the grid at this
so
point.
I wonder if he's also like feeling guilty and all of these
So that is the
things.
question, because like two of our four appear to no longer be active Jedi. Like even though Torben is yes in a Jedi temple, he's not an active Jedi. He is
No.
literally hanging out in a box, not doing
Yeah.
any Jedi activity.
And for 10 years.
10 years.
So that's where it's just like I wonder. Indara was fine, like she was an active Jedi. And Saul is all obviously an active Jedi, but I'm like I'm wondering how that works. And also like this is the first time we've seen a Wookiee Jedi actually. I don't know. I think it's funny. I was just like, is he going to be wearing robes? And maybe he's not because he does not like do Jedi things. I don't know.
I was about to say he has fur, but Nubs has a cloak, so
I know. We Nubs has a whole fit. So I'm just kind of like, we'll see what his deal is. And I'm just like very
I like it though. I like seeing a Wookiee.
I like that we're seeing like different kinds of Jedi in this. Um I like that there's just like subtle nods to diversity, right? Because they talk about when Saul was in the last episode talking to Osha about the fire, he said your moms. So I was just like, oh, there's another instance of like a same-sex couple in the galaxy, I assume.
Hold on to
I
that
don't
one.
know. I
Hold
know.
on to
That's
that
why
thought.
I don't know. I'm just like interested to understand
Yes.
all of those dynamics. But I don't know. So, do you think there's a winner in this episode?
This is hard to do like a winner of the episode.
I know we do that before because like there's so many kids, right, with Young
Yeah, and
Jedi.
and with those episodes, they're following different journeys throughout the path. In this one,
Yeah.
we're following May and Osha's journey, and I think we're still like in this early introduction. Like there's no like major standout. Like I think May and Osha are like stand I well, if I need to break it down, May and her choreography skills, and I know it has nothing
Yeah.
to do with the actual show, but like the actual inside of the show, but her fight scenes are just so good, but I don't think there's
Yeah.
necessarily like a, oh, you won the episode because we're still building. We don't know where we're going.
So maybe we could do it this way. So now since we're looking at them as two separate,
Hmm.
whose journey are you more interested in at this point? May or Osha's?
I like Osha's because I feel like Osha right now, I feel like Osha's very much the underdog.
So this is
Whereas
where I
May
kind of am,
knows like the path she is on, and Osha's like Osha's quit the Jedi. She's a mechanic, which is only for, as we learn from R2
it's kind
droids are the
of
only thing that do this.
it's kind of an illegal profession, it seems
Yeah,
like.
because our Padawan told us that only R2 droids usually do this type of work.
Yeah.
So she
I'm
feels
kind
very
of
underdog and kind of is like having to go with where the world is taking her. Whereas May's on
I
a path of some sort. At least right now, I feel like May is on a
yeah,
path.
so May is on a path, but I'm
I think
curious
her
to
path is
see,
changing.
yeah, now that she knows that Osha is alive, because I'm like very curious to understand how she got set on that path, because obviously the Jedi only saved Osha.
Yes.
And Osha believes May to be the responsible for killing her family, their family. So I'm just curious as to like who took in May after. Did anybody take in May and how
Yeah.
did she come to where she is? And like, is she gonna change her path to try and find Osha? And like, I don't know. I'm curious because also like it's wild. It doesn't make any sense to me currently.
Well,
But
we're just going to see where we go with this one.
yeah. Um, so the next episode,
Is not a name slash name or word
is it
slash
not?
word. It is not. It is
What is it?
Destiny, I believe. I have these.
Oh,
Is the next one
so
Destiny?
yeah, it is. So then
So
I
let's going
guess
off the title. Let's go with this title before
okay.
we close out. So we've been going back and forth, name slash name. We now know the twins. Whose destiny are we now following? Is it
But
both of
that's
them?
why. Well, but up until this point, we their stories have been separate. So we have two words. So I'm like, now that they both know that each other is alive, like, are we gonna get to a point where they meet up and their
And
stories are
actually
aligned?
meet more than just a glance.
Yeah. Like actually, and that's where I'm
Conversate.
just like,
Have a
I
conversation.
wonder if I wonder if that's where it's like they're gonna talk about like why these two are so important because like currently they seem like they were both sides of the force. I'm hoping we find out why May left
Mm-hmm.
the Jedi.
Osha
It
left the
seems like,
Jedi.
huh? Oh,
Osha left
sorry,
the Jedi.
Osha. Osha left the Jedi. It seems very much it's because she cannot get over her anger and her
And
grief.
grief. And it's funny because Soul says, I didn't realize you were so angry. And Osha's response is, this is grief, not anger.
Hmm.
And those are like the same side, like different sides of the same coin.
Yeah, so that's where
Anger and
it's
grief
just
kind of
like,
go hand in hand, but the way each of them sees it is very different.
yeah. So I'm curious to see how that
Do you think it is grief or anger?
I think it's anger still.
See, I think it's grief.
No, I think she's still very angry and like finding out that her sister is alive is even
I
worse.
think that makes it anger is like when she found out because now she's like, but I think prior to knowing her sister was alive, that it was possibly more grief
Yeah.
because she thought they were all gone. Like the anger was not quite, didn't need to be like, not that it didn't need to be there, but wasn't quite as strong.
Well, I wonder if it wasn't as strong because May, who she blames for the fire, was dead too.
Hmm.
So like it wasn't as prevalent, but now that she
But
found out
now
she's
she's back.
alive,
It's now
that
like,
anger is like
well, and the
reignited.
other anger is where has she been my entire life since I
Yeah.
was 8 years old?
Yeah.
So,
So hopefully we'll find out. Okay.
but while we wait, remember, you're not the droids you're looking for.
But we're the droids you're gonna get.